Hey, by the way, tonight's game, New York wins that outright.
You know he's on top. Million subs, he never gonna flop. Out of Chicago, where the streets don't sleep. Betting on games, making cash real deep. Crystal ball for sports, he knows the lines. He's a sports aficionado, the money he finds. From football to basketball, he's always on point. Predicting winners never disappoints. He's got that hustle, that Chicago vibe. Making moves on the streets, cash on the side. With E, you know it's always a bet. He's the king of the game, never forget.
Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports Show for March 4th. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric. I'm the man behind Etoft21sports. Absolutely loaded episode for you today. Gino is going to have his horse racing bet of the day from Oakland. We're going to talk some NFL and this week's special guest from Michigan, my boy Ty. We're going to talk some Michigan State basketball, obviously talk about the NFL news and share some college basketball bets for Wednesday. But before we get into all that, I'd like to say thank you to the sponsor of the show, Prop Hacks. If you're not using it, go to the App Store, download it. Peer-to-peer betting exchange, 2% back for the first 30 days for every bet you make. And just out tennis.store, go there, use promo code ETOFT21 and get 10% off. Now let's shift our attention over to Oak Lawn Park for Friday and see what Gino's horse racing bet of the day is.
Best bet for this week's going to come on Friday over at Oak Lawn Park. We're looking at the daily racing form, past performances. Head on over to drf.com and you can pick any track, whatever day that you need. So I'm looking Friday. We're looking race number 9. But there's a decent amount of speed in here. A couple, like the 3, Miss Hebrides, I think wants to be forward. Comes out of a race where they were going pretty quick early on. The 4, Normandy Queen, wants to show some early speed in here. The 6, Absent, stretching back out, wants to show some speed, especially the 7, Pretty Layla. I think all of them could be flashing early speed in here. The horse who I'm interested in is the number 9, Claret Beret. This horse has some tactical speed. That means she can kind of sit pretty close. She doesn't need the lead, though. If you look at her races, she likes to sit a few lengths off, and I think she'll get a really nice trip coming from off the pace in here. Look at her dirt form overall. It's fantastic. She is one of 4 of her 5 starts on a main track. And the only one that she didn't was back on December the 27th when she had a slow start that day and she had to come from way, way off of it on a muddy track. So I think she fits really well in here. She's 6-1 on the morning line. If she's anything like 4-1 or above, I think that's very fair value on the 9 here. This is race number 9. Friday, March the 7th, Oak Lawn Park. Make sure to head to drf.com for all the past performances, for anything you need, and check in with Eric right here each and every week for the best information in sports.
Make sure to give my boy Gino a follow at It's Me, Gino B. He just went on board on DRF. I'm going to be doing some stuff for them, so be on the lookout for that. Now, let's welcome this week's special guest, my boy Ty. Ty, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing well, Eric. Thanks for having me back on here, man. It was a lot of fun last time. Looking forward to talking about MSU and, some of the NFL stuff that's been going on. And, yeah, looking forward to diving right into it.
I'm not going to lie. I'm pumped. I am going up to Milwaukee on the first weekend. They are Friday, Sunday. I'm going to be up there Friday.
Okay.
I'm really hoping Michigan State gets there. It's either going to be there or Cleveland. I'm guessing probably Cleveland, but maybe the off chance they can get up there. That would be effing phenomenal. Obviously, Michigan State, they've been pretty good. They lost that game to Indiana, but then what is it? Maryland, Illinois.
At Illinois, home against Purdue, at Michigan, at Maryland, and then obviously the other day against Wisconsin at home. If you would have talked to me about this team, we've had our conversations about it earlier in the season and towards the middle of the season. But if you would have talked to me after that Indiana game, man, I was worried. I had a lot of concerns, and this team is special. They're putting together. Obviously, the last 5 games have been a great run, but man, they're hitting their stride at the right time, and you're seeing you're seeing, 8 guys out there scoring sometimes double digits almost every other time and every time even. And you're seeing a lot of production from the bench. You're seeing, Izzo's been just adjusting to the, he was able to find a way to get through that zone defense against U of M. And, that was obviously a big win against a rival. And I'm loving what I'm seeing right now. So,
I mean, I think the problem solving he's just done has just been great.
Mm-hmm.
They can throw different people on the floor, which has been great for them. And more importantly, they have the NBA talent in Rich.
Richardson, man, that kid's a first rounder.
And Figler, I thought he was going to be a starter. He's kind of come off the bench role. Carr seems to be getting better. We haven't even seen Booker really take that next step. But we're not. This isn't a Michigan State homer show. We're obviously going to talk some other things. But your first takeaway does have to do with Michigan State. Why don't you talk some Michigan State, my man?
Yeah, obviously, it was a big weekend for MSU. They got the split Big Ten championship in hockey with Minnesota, so that was exciting to see. I remember, watching that 06-07 team when I was in high school, when they had Abdicator and Ryan Miller, and they were just Ron Howard was the coach, not Ron Howard, Ron Mason. Ron Mason was the coach, not the actor. But anyways, just watching the the ascension of the program back to where we've seen it before, and obviously they had some rough patches there with some rough years, but they're getting the kids in, and they're getting guys that want to play, they're getting guys that want to win, and I love that. And obviously we just touched base on MSU hoops, and I'm excited to see this team make a run come tournament time. I think they have all the tools for it. The biggest thing is they just wear teams down in the second half. That's been their bread and butter. Team, there's been a lot of few rough starts and some lopsided halftime scores, but they're running teams out, man. They're wearing them out, and they're getting the best of them in the last 10 minutes in the games.
I have a list of teams I just don't want to see them play.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to have flat. Now I'm stressing right now because Baylor got fouled, went to the line, okay, and went to the line, made 2, then TCU threw it out of bounds, and now I'm sitting on the +3.5, and TCU fouled with 0.3 left, so. I just one of those nights for me. But there's certain teams like UC San Diego I'm a little afraid of. Drake, I don't think Drake will be seated that, but UC San Diego, that'd be a team I'd be afraid of. Michigan State.
St. Mary's always has, they play tough come tournament time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Excuse me. My big takeaway is this. Deebo going to the Commanders. When we look at it, complements Terry McLaurin as an underneath receiver, provides Jalen Daniels with a versatile weapon, can be used in the backfield on jet sweeps. He's going to be a factor in the running game. His contract, $17.5 million, is manageable with the Commanders' $100 million in cap space. Commanders could still pursue another wide receiver or premium tight end in the draft. Potential for an early extension for 2026. This move, it signals to me Washington is serious about building around their young quarterback. My big thing is they need to treat this offseason that instead of making it all the way to the conference championship game, they were a 5-win team. And this move shows me that's what they're doing. Bringing in Samuel, he's going to be a great fit. Kingsbury is going to be able to maximize his playmaking ability. Obviously, good first step for the Commanders in the offseason. Now, let's look at the 49ers. When we look at Purdy, his numbers dip when Deebo isn't in the lineup. 49ers are already dealing with a ton of uncertainty on the offensive end. CMC's health, Kittle's age, Ayuk coming back from a major leg injury. When we look at the financial concerns, $31.6 million dead cap hit this year because of Deebo not being there. Who replaces the production? Are we talking Ricky Pearsall, the first round pick? Jawan Jennings, is Ayuk even still going to be on the roster? He's coming back from that major leg injury. Like, how is that going to look? Kittle even said himself, the Niners can't replace Deebo. And then when we look at the trade compensation, the Commanders only gave up a 5th-round draft pick for Deebo. Now, granted, I know he's old. I know he gets banged up. But 5th-round draft pick for Deebo on an affordable contract?
Yeah, on paper, it looks like the 49ers got fleeced in the deal because, like you were just saying, like he'll bring that weapon for Jake to add to that arsenal, and there's going to be a lot of eyes on the Commanders this next season because of what they did compared to what they were expected to do. So yeah, and obviously they got Philly that they have to try to compete with. And yeah, I mean, I would 100% say there's mostly pros than cons in terms of, what the Commanders did in obtaining him. He's had some not top Deebo seasons too. Like if you look at 2023 and 2024 on paper, you're looking at 2 different players right there.
Mm-hmm.
But he does bring that experience. He brings that level of intensity. And like you said, when he's not in the lineup, the numbers drop.
Everything dips down. And
everything. So, he's 29 years old. He's got, I don't know how many seasons left, but man, that frees up a ton of cap space for San Francisco. So you have to wonder, like you said, who are they going to go out and get to replace
or do
him?
they give Purdy the extension? Do they give Purdy his money? And we've seen that these young quarterbacks, they need a playmaker. I think him being 29 is great just because they can give him money for 2-3 years and then they re-up Jaden and then they let him walk.
Right.
So, I mean, I think timeline-wise, it works in great. Now, does Washington, they need to shore up their defensive line, their back four, their offensive line, of course. But when we look at the game against the Eagles, it was basically they had no other playmakers. You can't rely on Zach Ertz being your second playmaker.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Him having 10 catches. So I think it's a good first step for the Commanders, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And the great thing about the NFL never sleeps. We had some former Lions making some headway. Darius Slay got released. Matt Stafford contemplated, going to New York, going to the Raiders. So obviously there's some news there. What do you think about Slay and the Stafford news over the past week?
I had heard, I saw something on X where Slay had made a comment that if he ever got released, that he would come back to Detroit. And I posted something yesterday because he was always one of my favorite defensive players when he had a Lions uniform on. Personally, I would, for the right price, I wouldn't mind seeing him come back to Detroit. I think you'd be a great mentor to those young kids, especially Arnold. Oh yeah, said that on St. Brown's podcast. Thanks for that. But yeah, I saw it, and I think that he would be a great mentor for some of those younger players, and for the right price though. I know that we've talked about this on the last episode. Ultimately, not to bring the Lions into this whole thing, but I trust Brad Holmes at the end of the day to make the right decisions on bringing the right guys in. But yeah, that was definitely interesting. What are your thoughts on him coming back to Detroit?
They definitely need someone in the back. Like their back four was just awful last year. And it just got to the point where I know they had a ton of injuries, but even when everyone was running back there, Branch was solid, Joseph was solid, and that was basically it. You know what I mean? Like I know
Arnold's got, man, like,
but he was always
got a great ceiling, but he just so many penalties, very highly penalized.
He was just awful last year for what they gave. And the kid from Missouri was always hurt that they drafted. Who's the guy that came over from the Raiders who got separated his shoulder? I'm spacing on his name.
I'm spacing right now.
Oh my God, that's gonna drive me crazy. But you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Oh my God. Lions depth charts. He
Amik
played.
Robertson.
I'm sorry. What was
Amik
the name?
Robertson.
Yeah,
Amik
Robertson. But he was above his head. He's not that good. He had he did great against Justin Jefferson, but that's not his floor. Davis is gone. Arnold never really developed. Rankinstraw was hurt. Mosley, 2 serious leg injuries. Vendor, I don't even know how he's still in the league. Like, they definitely need some help in the secondary.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see. We did have a question in the chat. I think it means, where does Myles Garrett go? Where does Garrett? But I think that's what he's asking. I don't think the Lions are going to trade for him. I think they'll probably get someone from the defensive line of Texas A&M in the first round. But they definitely need to go after this defense. This defense was a huge liability.
They got absolutely picked apart, in the playoffs too, the last game.
And what do you think about Ben Johnson? Like, it seems to me like he's just trying to be the villain with the shit he's saying. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't know. It's hard because I have a lot of respect for him with what he brought to the offense and what he brought, developing a lot of those players in Detroit on the offensive side. It's like, I don't know, just like the timing of everything was weird. It's like when we were playing Washington in the playoffs, I feel like he had his whole staff picked out already. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what he does with the Bears this year, but
I don't know, like, because he took shots at LaFleur, he took shots at the Packers, shots at the Vikings, shots at O'Connell, shots at Goff, shots at the Lions. It's like
I think it's crazy that he
all these shots,
and he's staying in the division too. So he's making the wrong enemies is what he's doing, because we're gonna have to play the Bears twice every year.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like, sometimes this is addition by subtraction, like with what was going on in Detroit, and maybe this will be the thing that gets them over the corner. We saw the Eagles, they changed OC and DC, terrible season, lost in the wild card round. Got an experienced OC, an experienced DC, then won the title. Maybe that's what's going to be for our boys. But enough of talking NFL and looking back at the weekend. Let's talk some bets. But before we get into all that, we need to take a look back at how we did last week. 3-3 last week. Wade lost UIC +8, Rhode Island +4, and Oregon State on the money line. Old Uncle Rico hit Butler +7.5, Penn State +5.5, and Texas +5.5. For the show, we are 13-5. So it's been a good show. Transition good. We're going to be hyping it up here, focusing on college basketball. Let's keep it going. We each have three bets, but full transparency, we do have one of the same, and we'll start with that. Tell us why you like the Terps, my friend.
Well, I mean, might be a little biased here, but from what I saw when Michigan played Illinois the other day, it's just, they were just their guards, man. They were not, their guard play just wasn't top tier. And I think Maryland's, looking for higher seeding. They're ultimately thinking ahead. So I think they're going to come into Ann Arbor and get the W. And that's why I'm picking the Maryland money line.
For me, when I looked at it, I did Maryland +1.5 for me. Michigan's been sloppy with the ball. They are 307th in turnovers per game over the past month. This is going to obviously just some fast break points for Maryland. Michigan also ranks 300th in turnovers forced per game. Maryland's not going to face much defensive pressure with those numbers. Despite having 2 7-footers, Michigan ranks 281st in rebounding over the past month. Maryland's ability to crash the board should lead to some second chance points. Kind of feel this could be a look-ahead spot for the Wolverines. They have Michigan State on deck. Now, this is a stat that's going to blow your mind. Michigan is 9-4 in their last 13 games. Okay? Pretty good, right? Negative 34-point differential, which is mind-boggling. So this record's really not telling the true story of what's going on there. Maryland, 14th in KenPom, elite efficiency on both ends, 28th adjusted offense, 12th adjusted defense, 15th in the nation in scoring, 10th field goals made per game, 47th assist to turnover ratio. Both teams have similar defensive efficiency, but Maryland's size and rebounding edge is going to be the difference. Maryland ranks 35th in defensive rebounding, Michigan only 148th. Maryland 48th in blocks, Michigan 91st. Maryland is also 57th in turnovers per game. Michigan, like I mentioned, really struggles for the season, 342nd. While Michigan struggles on the board, turning the ball over at a high rate, Maryland is going to be able to capitalize that, get some extra points in transition. I'm going to take the Terps here to cover. Give me Maryland here, plus 1.5. I'm sorry, man. I am struggling here with my voice. I have been dog shit sick for like going on 3 weeks now, man. And I have no idea what the hell's going on, man. So I struggle for that, everybody. Next bet, my friend.
Next bet, I'm staying in the Big Ten. I'm going to go Wisconsin under 6.5. I just don't think Minnesota, even at home, I don't think they're going to be able to hang with Wisconsin. And honestly, from what I saw the other day, and from what we've been seeing with a typical Wisconsin team, is man, like they find they're a gritty team, and they've got a lot of good 3-point shooters on their team. They find ways to win games, and I just think they're going to go into Minneapolis, and it's gonna be one-sided, I think.
I can see that. Wisconsin has been great this year shooting the three, and it's a different 3-point team than we grew up with. You know what I mean? A Wisconsin team. We're used to the slow it down defensive half-court stuff. These guys shoot the ball. They're trying to play a little bit of a fast pace. It's definitely a different.
If honestly, circling back to MSU, is ultimately MSU just wore them down, and that's what happened. And it was still a pretty close game up until about 3 minutes left. So,
and you look at what like Izzo and Pitino have done this year. They kind of just gave the middle finger up to this 3-point stuff. You know what I mean? It's attack the rim, defense, pass break. Definitely some old school basketball. My next bet, I'm going to SEC country. Give me Ole Miss here, plus 3.5. I'm going to look to fade Tennessee here. Vols are coming off come from behind win over Alabama. Could be a letdown spot. We look at Barnes. After beating a ranked opponent, he's 36.8% against the number as a conference favorite on the road, 44%. Rebels average just 8.5 turnovers per game, which neutralizes a key aspect of Tennessee's defensive pressure. Per Bartovic, Ole Miss is excellent getting to the free-throw line in February. This is going to lead to the last month. This is going to lead to some easy points. When we look at the Vols, they're not a great 3-point shooting team, but they're hitting 40% from deep during this current 4-game winning streak. I think we're going to see a drop off in that, some negative shooting regression. Flip side, opponents are only shooting 31% from 3 in that stretch. I think we're going to see some positive shooting regression from Ole Miss. Also, I expect a strong performance from Ole Miss with emotions high in Oxford on senior night. And also, anytime we have a game where it's really going to be really slow tempo, I'm always just going to take the team taking points just because they don't have to win with margin. So give me the Rebels here, plus 3.5, my friend.
I like that pick.
Next one.
I am going to shift over to the Big East, and I am going to go with Marquette and UConn over 144.5. I think it's going to be a high scoring Big East game. I think, there's going to be, UConn obviously not having the season that they expected. Not a big fan of the coach at UConn there. But I think that, they still have guys that can play. They still have, great athletes that can score a lot of points on their team. I like the over in this game.
Not a Hurley guy, man?
What's that?
Not a Hurley guy?
No.
Why not, man? I mean,
Watch the Maui Invitational and how he reacted, and that tells you everything about my opinion right there.
I mean, dude, he likes to win, man. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of people like to win, but that doesn't mean act like a child.
My last and final bet, I am going to Big 12 country. I'm taking Boomer Sooner here, plus 4.5. I'm going to fade Missouri here. Tough spot. They're coming off an overtime game against Vanderbilt just 4 days ago. 4 players logged over 30 minutes. I think fatigue is going to be a huge factor here. When we look at Porter Moser, coach of Oklahoma, 71.4% ATS at home while coaching as a dog at Oklahoma. Possible look-ahead spot for Missouri. They have senior night this weekend against Kentucky. Could be a flat spot, especially when you factor in that overtime game. Revenge angle for Oklahoma. Sooners lost the first matchup against Missouri. Chance to even the series as a home underdog. 3-throw advantage. Oklahoma is the best 3-throw shooting team in the SEC, and they've shown their ability to get to the line. Per Bartovic, they're one of the best teams at getting to the line for the month of February. Missouri's defensive rebounding struggles. Again, per Bartovic, Missouri ranks 333rd in defensive rebounding over the past month. I think this is going to lead to some second chance points for the Sooners. Also, while Oklahoma has allowed 82 plus in 5 straight games, Missouri really isn't that great offensive team. I think Oklahoma is going to be able to control the tempo at home, help limit Missouri's scoring with Missouri's potential fatigue, look-ahead spot, plus the home court advantage and the 3-throw edge. I'm going to take Boomer Sooner here, plus 4.5, my friend.
Speaking of Big 12, man, how about Kansas's fall from grace this year? But you didn't see that coming, I bet.
Dude, Hunter Dickinson. I talked about it a couple weeks ago on here. No matter what team he's on come February, Hunter Dickinson's teams fall apart. And I think it's just fatigue from him because everything I've read and heard is the kid's a pain in the fucking ass, excuse my language. You know what I mean? I think that's it. They brought in some transfers that really haven't fit. Have you heard the rumor that I've heard 2 rumors about Self. Number 1, he could be going to Texas. Obviously, Texas, they got a big win against Missouri. But I could see them moving on from Terry. They have the money to go after Self. I could see that happening. Or are you ready for this one? North Carolina.
Whoa.
I mean, I know they just – and that's really weird to me because there's these rumors came out that Hubert was retiring, and then they just announced they extended him when they're going on this winning streak. Could you see Self leaving Kansas?
I don't know. He's been around for, obviously quite a while, and he's won a lot of games in Kansas, but I North Carolina, I think, would be a lot more surprising than Texas.
You think it would be more surprising
than Texas, or do you think Texas would be more surprising?
For me, Texas would be more surprising because you're
staying in the same conference.
You know what I mean? You're going in
Texas, SEC now, but
you know what I mean? Actually, no, you're right. They are in the SEC.
Yeah. So what happens when you get 4 conferences now?
I mean, Texas, you could probably get more money though.
Yeah, right. No, 100%. And he's not gonna settle for.
Where does bracket matrix have? Real quick. So I'm looking at it right now. I do not see. They have Oklahoma in as the 11th. They got to have North Carolina in here then. They have other at-large, so they do not have North Carolina in. And they do not have Texas in. But they have, so that and bracket matrix is usually the most reliable one.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow, could you imagine that? If UNC doesn't get in and they hire Self.
I could see them doing it like
because I kind of feel like
not long after the season though too.
Because Kansas, they just haven't been that good the last couple of years, man. You know what I mean? Like they lost 11 games last year. They're double digits.
Well, you already said it's Dickinson.
You know, and they've brought in these guys with the NIL that just haven't worked out. Yeah. Texas has a lot of money. I could see him going to Texas. The more and more I think about it, because I totally mental mistake on me. I'm still getting used to them being in the Big 12. Leaving the Big 12, excuse me.
There's been so much conference movement in the last few years. It's hard to keep them all straight, honestly.
So I could see that happen. Then did you what the other thing I was going to ask you? Iowa State has only lost one game this year, one full strength.
Yeah, they're going to be a problem.
I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Right now, they have Michigan State as the in the Duke region per bracket matrix. Which I'll tell you what, if I'm Michigan State, I just want to avoid Auburn and Duke. If I'm Michigan State, that's me. That's me though. I agree
with that 100%.
So, but I have three futures. My three futures, I got Michigan State at 40-1 at the beginning of the year. I got Texas A&M at like 16-1, I think, just to make the Final Four beginning of the year. Texas Tech, just to make the Final Four, 20-1 at the beginning of the year. And I know what's going to happen. Michigan State's going to be the 2 seed in the region. Texas Tech will be the 3 seed, and Texas A&M will be the 4 seed. And I know in my head
they'll beat each other.
That's what's going to happen. Ty, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your schedule, coming on, talking a little NFL, a little college basketball. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media, my friend?
Yeah, so my X account is on here. It's just at Ty_Chandler13. Usually just use that, talking about sports, stuff like that. But yeah, Eric, I appreciate you having me on again, man. We'll have to do this again soon. Make it 3 times, and they'll obviously we're kind of getting closer to the dead point in the year, but there'll be some stuff to talk about, and I'm sure we could put together a good show. So
there's never dead points, my friend. There's always stuff to bet on. Always stuff to bet on, my friend.
We got Tigers baseball coming up here soon. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know about you, but
I hope they do good, man. I hope they do good.
And dude, I'm just gonna touch base real quick. The Pistons, man, how about them in the last few weeks?
They've been great. I mean, like I have them a future to make the playoffs. So
I think that's a good bet.
I think they're looking good. I'm happy with what I've seen from them. Really young. I wish Ivory was here for the experience, but I know everyone's talking about who's going to be the next face of the league and everything. And my boy Bryce and I have talked about this. Why not Cade? Why not Cade Cunningham? Like literally, like what he seems to get overlooked now. And when you look the way he's done with Detroit, and I'll be honest, like I know if they face, I know in the playoffs, if they face the Celtics, no chance. Cavs, no chance. But everyone else, Knicks, Pacers, Bucks, I think they have a chance. I think they have a chance, especially the Pacers. Bucks with Giannis, and that championship pedigree he brings. I think that's going to be a little tough. I think Kuzma could disrupt Cade with the level of defense that he's playing. Knicks, I mean, Brunson could just get hot and you have no chance. But the Knicks have a lot of holes. Knicks just aren't as good as people think they are. So should be interesting. And, I'm going to be doing a watch along for the NBA game. If it's the Piston game, man, I'll send you the invite. You can hop on. We can talk a little shop during the game, my friend.
That would be great. We will touch base on that when the time comes. So
thanks for coming on, my friend. We will talk soon. Make sure you come back next week when King Midas Bets is the guest, and we're going to be talking some college basketball and some conference tournaments. Until then, best of your luck in your bets, and we'll talk soon, my friend.
See you, Eric. Have a good one.